Hey guys, Gary from Midwest Mics here. Are you looking for a DJ for your next event? Well, call DJ Showtime, 816-260-2056. He can DJ your wedding, a special event, a bar and club event. Whether your event's large or small, DJ Showtime is your guy. He'll play music of all genres, whatever you guys want to hear, that's what he'll play. He's been DJing since 2005, lots of experience. Again, that phone number is 816-260-2056 at DJ Showtime KC34 on Twitter, DJ Showtime 3481 on Snapchat. And remember, this is Gary from Midwest Mics. Tell him that I sent you. Contact DJ Showtime, 816-260-2056. I'm Gary. This is Austin. We are Midwest Mics coming live at you from the UClick Studios at the Hy-Vee Arena. This is our first show. We have a partnership now with UClick TV. So you can catch us live on the U every week doing our normal audio podcasts. Will still be available through all of our outlets that we put it up on, but now you can also catch us on UClick TV. Just go to their website and find us on there and check us out. So we're pretty excited about that.
Pretty pumped. First time doing the show in the studio. So we're excited. We're also excited to have our first ever guest on. He's back.
Yeah. Coach William Harris.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to be here, guys.
Yeah. For those of you that may be tuning in for the first time, Coach Harris is currently the head football coach at Van Horn High School in Independence, Missouri. He is a former defensive coordinator at Raytown. Had a cup of coffee down at Kansas City Central, and was a defensive coordinator over at Grandview High School. So, Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Coach Harris is also going to do the Missouri-Kansas All-Star Game for the Greater Kansas City Football Coaches Association. He's the head football coach for that also, so it's a big honor, and congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't you first kind of talk about some of your coaching experiences? Those people that have followed the show may have heard it before, but for the new guests, the new people tuning in for the first time, just talk a little bit about, your coaching experience at Grandview, go back to your playing experience at Baker, and just kind of talk through some of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road. I'm getting a little older, so the road's getting a little longer, but definitely, I played in Raytown South High School, played high school ball there. From there, I went to Baker University, played for 4 years. I had a pretty decent career. I'm a 4-year starter, so, I was kind of an undersized guy, so I played my butt off, worked my butt off, and played there. After I finished there, I GA'd 1 year there, and then I went on to coach college ball for about 3 years. Got a lot of good experience there, met a lot of good people, a lot of good coaches, made a lot of great connections. After that, ended up going to Grandview. Once at Grandview, I worked my way up, ended up being a defensive coordinator for about 4 or 5 years. Had some good defenses, some great kids. You were there. You know what we had going on over there. So I had a lot of great kids there, my time there. Once I finished up my certification and everything, I ended up taking, like I said, the central job. I finished my student teaching there, worked there for about 6 months. Some circumstances came up, so things changed. So I ended up getting a job at Raytown, where I was a defensive coordinator for a couple years. After a couple decently successful years there, I ended up getting a head coaching job at Van Horn, and it's where I've been for 3 years, and getting things rolling, going in the right direction. So it's a lot of work in progress, but we seem to have a little momentum and got things going in the right direction right now.
Yeah, you guys won your first ever playoff game in school history last year. That was a big moment for you, for your program. First playoff win as a head coach, and just, anytime you say it's the first ever in a program, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know it at the time until it came out in the newspaper, but since the format's changed to what it is now, where everybody makes the playoffs, it was our first playoff win under this current format. So it was a big deal for us. I like to say it a lot, but it's a big deal for us. But we want more right now. So that's the plan right now, is to kind of push this thing a little further next year and see what we can do.
I was going to say, Coach, so you'll be going into your 4th year?
Yes.
So what do you see, a big step you guys are going to take from your 3rd to your 4th year? What What are the things you see going into this fourth year?
Just progress. I tell people all the time is I'm just looking to get better every day. I set our expectations and our goals for each year, and I usually give 3 goals, and one of our goals is to always be better than next year. So we're shooting for 8 victories this year. That's our first goal on the board, is to have more wins than we had last year. And I think, the last couple of years we've been playing a lot of young kids. If everything works out the way I think it's going to next couple of weeks, with school being finished up and us starting our summer program, I think this will be the first year where we don't have to play a freshman on the varsity. So our program's going in the right direction. This will be the first year where we don't have a lot of sophomores and freshmen on the field. Now we're getting to the junior class and our senior class, kids that have been with me for 4 years. And so we're looking to take the next step and to turn that next page and be successful and kind of solidify ourselves.
Now, one thing we had talked about before when you've been on is culture, culture change. A lot of coaches that we've talked to, when they're going into a program, they're going to kind of turn it around or steer it in the right direction. The biggest thing is to change culture.
Yeah,
and Gary,
absolutely.
you know about that too. Same thing happened at Shawnee Mission East before you got there, but they changed the culture to where the expectation is to win every year. So what are some of the steps or some of the things that maybe other coaches get advice from you on how to kind of steer that culture in the right direction?
I think it's not necessarily advice, but, I said I've been around in the college game, and I've been around some good coaches, and I've seen some people, and I've kind of been able to see people do it the wrong way and kind of see people do it the right way. And so I think my experience is what I've seen is taking advantage of the new system. Every coach, when they get a new job, they're excited. And if they can get that excitement to catch on to their kids and the program catches that excitement, then it helps you build the culture. So it's not necessarily one thing that you do or don't do. I just think it's important that me as a head coach, my passion, that the kids see my passion. They know I'm going to be here every day, and I'm going to work my butt off for you every day, because they reciprocate that. If they really believe it and they see it, and you get results, because winning is part of it. You can have all the passion you want, but if the kids don't see the results on Friday nights, at some point it kind of wanes. But if you can take that passion and you can propel it into wins, it helps the kids understand, we got something here and we can do something. And after a while, I've kind of coined the phrase, the snowball effect. It's like rolling the snowball down the hill. Once you get it started, it kind of takes care of itself. So that's the kind of the sign to let me know that the culture is moving in the right spot, is if I go in the weight room and I see things that weren't done the first year that are being done by juniors or seniors. They're leading the groups and they're telling guys hey, this is how we do it. And that's how you're going in the right direction. So that's kind of one of the big indicators for me to understand if the culture is heading in the right direction. And it's not necessarily you do this or you did that, but it's a culture kind of feeding itself.
Getting everybody to buy in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It sounds like it ends up becoming kind of contagious.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've always said, we've talked about it before, your best kids, your best teams are more player-led than coaches-led. Yeah. The kids, the players, the athletes, they will listen to each other long before they'll listen to one of us. Mm-hmm. So if they're over there saying, hey, you only did 4 sets and you're supposed to do 5 today, or you're doing 6 reps and you're supposed to do 8, that means a lot more coming from their peer versus coming from you or I.
I yell every day and they get tired of hearing me yell, but if you come up to a kid and you say, hey man, that's not how we do things, and it means a whole lot more than coming from Coach Harris.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. One of your probably most prominent players that I've seen in the last few weeks, we worked the 8-10 combine. We saw your defensive end, Skivers, coming out.
Yeah. I call him Skivers. He gets upset, so
okay.
I always give him some trouble with that. I call him that. He gets mad at me.
Okay. But yeah, he's getting some offers, and he's going to have a really good season for you guys. Talk a little bit about his work ethic and kind of how you've seen him transform over the last few years.
When you talk about kind of the transition that we made since I've been there, he's kind of the beginning of that transition. My first off season, he was an 8th grader. And he was a kid that would show up to the weight room after they got out of middle school. He would walk there after middle school got out, he would come over to our place and he would work out. Now, he would catch the end of our workout, but he would try to get everything in that he could. And, he's kind of the leader of that sophomore class turning into juniors, where I feel like those kids are going to lead us in the direction that we need to go. But he's been a kid that's been there since day one. He's been a kid that's bought into what we do in the weight room, off-season stuff. He's an everyday kid. So there's probably, my sophomore class is really loaded, and that's the kid that probably started that. But you're right. He's a kid that's been an everyday kid, day one kid since I've gotten in the building. So to see him kind of reap those benefits and things start working in his favor, and him starting to get some looks and things like that, it's really important to me, because you see that investment, and to see it come to fruition is really important. But it's also important for those other kids around to see, like, hey, he's kind of the guy that's showing us how we can do it and how we get to that point. So we're excited for him coming up this year. But like I said, I've probably got about 8 sophomores who've been playing since they were freshmen that'll be juniors this year. They've got a lot of playing experience, and they're different kids.
Yeah, that's great that he has such a great work ethic, and he's kind of one of your leaders. Who are some other guys this year that you'll look to kind of count on and be that coach on the field, leader on the field, keep those guys going?
Offensively, we have a running back, Devontae Talaro, who's coming back. This kid rushed for 1,200 yards for us, had, I believe, 15 touchdowns. He's starting to get some looks. He had a couple good days at those combines that we had. He's going to be a senior for us, and he's going to be a kid that we look for to lead us on offense. We've also got a wide receiver kid, Dravion Downton, who'll be a senior this year coming up. There's another kid that made a lot of plays for us early last year that we look for to have a big senior season for us. So, we have a lot of young kids with a lot of playing experience that'll be juniors, but we do also have some seniors that can help us in the leadership department too. So we look forward to all of those guys. Like I said, they're not your typical juniors. These guys have played for 2 years, so our expectation and the bar is high for those guys.
Yeah, and really, practice. We preach it all the time. You got to have great practices. You got to keep going. You got to do great at practice, but ultimately, there's no reps like game reps. Right. And, anybody who's put on a football helmet and stepped on the field or coached for any length of time understands some kids look great in practice, and then Friday night the lights turn on and it's like they've never done it before in their life. Right. Or, some kids look average in practice and, are for some reason just a gamer. Mm-hmm. That's a lot more rare. Mm-hmm. It all starts in the weight room. I know you're a big weight room guy. So talk a little bit about your weight program and kind of how you got that going over the last 4 years. We talked about culture. That was a big part of what I wanted to instill is to get those guys going in the weight room. So, we live 4 days a week right now. I'm always trying to learn more and find more research. I've got a buddy that was like the regional strength and conditioning director down in Texas, so I pick his brain a lot. I steal a lot of stuff from him, and I use that word steal. I don't steal, but that's something. If I see somebody doing it and I like it, I take it, and I don't have any shame in it. Right? Borrowing it.
I'm borrowing it. Yes, that's the correct word. Sorry. So, but yeah, I try to vary things that we do in the weight room. I get our guys in there. We don't spend 2 or 3 hours in the weight room. We get in, we get after it. Yeah. And, my goal when I'm in that weight room is to structure it and have the tempo a lot like practice. That way, when we hit the field in the summertime, they're used to the tempo. So, the weight room's a big kind of bridge to what we want to happen on the football field. So even though it's quote unquote off season, we're still practicing. It's still practice for us. So the tempo in our weight room, I like it to be pretty good. Talk about that culture building. Our numbers in the weight room our first year weren't very good. We maybe had about 4 or 5 kids in there consistently, but now we're up to 18. And it doesn't sound like a lot for a bigger program like you guys, but a lot of our kids play 3 sports, so it's not always going to be a whole team setting. But I feel like if I can get 18 guys in there, if I can get 12 guys in there consistently, then I can turn those 12 guys into dudes. So my goal in the weight room is to make those kids the best players we can be, and it's a huge part of what we do in the off season. We lift every day in the off season. We'll lift 2 days a week in school during the season. So the weight room's a huge part, not only just getting stronger, but it also gives you that confidence. I've got kids in our weight room now, those sophomores that I'm talking about. I had a running back who was a sophomore right now. He did 225 10 times, and he was running through the school to come and find me to let us know. So it's a big part of what we do, and not, like I said, not just the strength aspect, but I think the confidence building that happens in there is huge as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a key in the weight room is that confidence piece because, you know, the weights don't lie.
No.
500 pounds is 500 pounds. And if you can squat 500 pounds, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, because not a lot of guys can do that.
Right.
You know, so I like to see that, you know, your kids, you want them to get stronger, but, you know, more importantly, that confidence piece coming in. I'm glad you talked about that. Just, you know, the kid, if they can do that 225 10 times, you know, that changes how they feel about themselves.
Absolutely.
And so they're like, man, you know, pushing this guy off that's 195 pounds, giving him a stiff